Wow. Cool. Hi, hello everybody, and welcome to our week 0 meetup for TCL 62 in the August cohort of the Collab lab. And I think we're going to continue referring to them as the potentially the August and the February cohorts going forward, whereas before they had been kind of spring, fall. I think they're just going to a more spread out cadence with doing that. This is all to say that you're on TCL 62. Welcome. First things first, when we start to get going on this, is to kind of go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves. Kind of tell us a little bit about who you are. Kind of a little bit what your experience has been like getting to where you are today. Any pronouns or identifiers you want us to know before we get going, and then I don't know, something fun about you as well, so that we get to know you a little bit better. And then I think after that I'll do kind of a brief talk through of kind of what we're gonna do. And then we will dive right into we have a learning module that we do as part of our first week of meeting around Git, which is a thing we're all going to be using going forward for the next 8 weeks. So I'll go ahead and kick it off. My name is Lyle Schemmerling. I am a senior full stack engineer. I've been in the industry for about a decade. I started out I graduated with a psychology degree out of University of Colorado, and found myself working as a manager at PetSmart, which is great, and actually feel like that taught me a lot of things. But ultimately, decided kind of later to do a change, and my dad had done software stuff, and I'd been messing with computers since I was a kid, but I didn't think I wanted to go in and code. And then I turned around and went back through a master's program in a business school that was really trying to train you up to be a master's of computer information systems, to go be like a business manager for software companies and that kind of thing. That ended up getting me an internship at being a business analyst at a company that did health insurance software. They kind of figured out that I knew how to code and had been doing it enough to be useful, and they started putting me on coding projects, and away I went. Then spent a lot of time learning Java. Then I pivoted over and started to learn Angular and all the fun that UI stuff can be when you're able to show instead of tell. And have been kind of plugging away at that ever since. Changed a few different jobs, like to stick my finger in a little bit of everything with all kinds of random little technologies, from Python and Kubernetes to some of the AI stuff, and the handful of different front end frameworks, because there's a new one every week. So I have a lot of random spread out knowledge in a bunch of places, and then huge gaps in others. So ask me questions, I may or may not be able to answer them. And like I said, I also just moved to a new house yesterday, which is why I probably look a little bit disheveled, just because you're unpacking and dealing with all of that fun stuff. And my puppy will probably decide to interrupt the meeting as we go. So all right, I'm gonna go just right to left on my screen, and the next person there is Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace Delamora. I've been officially a software engineer for almost 2 years now. I work for like a marketing software firm. It's pretty big, so you might actually be familiar with it if you work for a small business or you work around small businesses. So I'm self-taught. I've been self-taught for about 20 years now. But I finally switched careers, like probably a lot of you are planning to do. So I have a lot of experience with trying to navigate that whole world of switching industries. I love what I do. Right now I'm transitioning into a front-end engineering role. Right now I'm a full stack engineer, but I love working with PHP, Node, React. React, I always say, is my love language. It's just a fun way to create different things. So I love user experiences and tinkering around with whatever I can create for people. Right now, fun fact about me, I live in Gainesville, Florida. So I think I'm the only East Coast person in this cohort. Totally fine. I like to stay up. But I'm actually moving to Connecticut, which is even further north and further east. So I'm really excited about that. The next person on my screen is Magdalena.
Hi, my name is Magdalena. I'm originally from Poland, where I finished my master's degree in management, and I work in travel agency here. But I was like in English, and I decided to go to US to my friends, and I spent a few weeks there. And I was like, oh, a lot of people just code, a lot of people just do some fun stuff, and I want to be there. Yes. So I switched my visa, and I'm a student in the US. I do my master degree in computer science. Yeah, and I'm just looking for a first job as a software engineer. I kind of like backend, but frontend is also fine too. So I just want to explore for now. And fun fact, I love rock climbing and I climb. Yeah, that's it. So next one is, let me go, Jenny.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jenny. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'm located in San Francisco, California. Um, let's see. A little bit about me. I've spent the majority of my career, I'm a career switcher, as I'm sure many of you all are as well. So I spent the majority of my career in account management, customer success, working for um, uh, well, no, I was a couple minutes late. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I just was like, we're waiting for Jenny, and then I was like, oh, look, there you are. Okay, cool. Anyway.
All good. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for your patience. Let's see. Yeah. So spent like I spent my past life in account management, working directly with customers and product users, and really enjoyed it for a time, and then kind of got into software development through that career path. So I started helping out with my last company's help center, doing a little HTML, CSS, really liked it, and then just kind of started exploring software development through that. Did a boot camp a couple years ago, called New Camp. And that was right when the pandemic hit. So it was like a perfect time to, spend some time learning. And so since I've been working on different projects, some freelance work, and looking to get some more kind of teamwork under my belt on a dev team. So super excited to work with you all. Fun fact. Just moved to Japantown in San Francisco. So I'm having a lot of fun eating my way through the neighborhood. Let's see. Person to my right is Archa. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly.
Hi, y'all. Yeah, it's pronounced Archa, and my pronouns are she, her. I live in Oakland, California, so close to Jenny, and I think also Magdalena, you said last time you're Mountain View, so around the Bay Area here. Currently, though, I'm in Central Illinois, but I'll be back home next week. And yeah, a little bit about me. I'm a career switcher as well. I spent most of my career, almost a decade, as an elementary school teacher. And after that, I worked as a consultant in education and publishing, specifically in children's publishing. And I did a boot camp also, and that I did this spring. So at the beginning of this year, I graduated at the end of March. And I have been job searching ever since then. For those of you that are job searching, I'm sure you know that right now is not a fun time to be job searching. And in my networking, someone actually suggested Collab Lab to me. That's how I found out about it. Never heard of it. So yeah, just in an effort to, uh, have some meaningful work that I continue to do as I job search, I applied, and I'm excited to be here with all of you. Yeah, so the world of software engineering is pretty new to me in the sense of not only am I switching into coding specifically, but I've also never worked for a corporation in the world of businesses and things like that. So that too is a big leap for me. But yeah, I think that the format of this project feels pretty familiar to me because in my boot camp we did a lot of collaborative team projects with the similar, with project boards and sprints and things like that. So I'm excited to keep doing that and dive back into that. And yeah, a fun fact about me is that I'm a published children's author. So I have 3 board books I've published, and I am trying to publish more. So I have an agent who is trying to get some more of my manuscripts published. So that's me. And I will pass it to Hans.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hans. I am also a career switcher and boot camp grad. I've worn professionally many different hats in my life, but always kind of like was never super satisfied with my line of work. I once upon a time was like a bike mechanic, and I did that for many years. But it kind of became too hard on my body. So when I moved to a new city, which by the way I didn't mention is Portland, Oregon. I'm also a West Coaster based out of Portland. When I moved here, I decided to try to find a career that I could do forever, which landed me at the United States Postal Service. So I worked as a letter carrier for the post office for 5 years, almost to the day. And towards the end there, I had a realization that I couldn't do that forever. Not only was it too hard on my body, but also it just was a very unfulfilling job, both emotionally and mentally. You're kind of doing a lot of the same thing every day, day in, day out, without any kind of mental stimulation, no use of creativity, nothing like that. Things that are all very important to me. But being a college dropout, I thought that professionally were sort of outside of the realm of possibility for me. And then I started looking into possible, career options for someone in my case, someone who's in their mid 30s, who doesn't have a college degree, who does feel capable of doing mentally stimulating and challenging work. And that's kind of how I came across the idea of a code boot camp. So I resigned in summer of 2021. And by October, started up with a boot camp in their part-time program. Epicodus was the boot camp I went through. Quickly fell in love with programming and web development and software development. Realized that that's what I wanted to do, and so just committed to it. Didn't finish until a year later in October the next year. Worked a brief internship, and then here I am in the same job market as everybody else. I'm at 300 plus applications and haven't gotten so much as an interview. So when one of my career advisors reached out to me with Collab Lab, letting me know that they were starting a new cohort, this seemed like just a great thing for me to want to be a part of. Give me an opportunity to not only have something to put on my resume as experience, but also it would be truly valuable experience to work with somebody, because through Epicodus we did a lot of collaborative work, but it was also a lot of independent study. And since then, I have done nothing but personal project building and independent work and stuff like that, and have been struggling to find people in a similar boat as me to work on things with. I've been trying to find collaboration partners either through classmates at my boot camp or through strangers on LinkedIn or anything like that, and just have had a hard time finding people to work with. When I got the info about Collab Lab, this seemed like the perfect opportunity to get to do that. So I applied. I'm here, obviously. I think And yeah, so I'm super excited to start doing this, start building something, and hearing everybody's ideas and stuff. Fun fact about me, my my current favorite LaCroix flavor is toasted coconut, but I tend to opt for limoncello because it's a bit more of an all day flavor profile, whereas toasted coconut is kind of I feel like a desserty type flavor profile. So yeah.
I think we have Jeremiah left
And
to go.
then,
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's
Jeremiah
just me.
is to the bottom of me, so
Okay,
sorry.
that's it's all good. Yeah, so my name is Jeremiah Fallon. I go by he, him. I'm in Roseburg, Oregon, which is a few hours south of Portland. I was a collabie in like the last cohort, and applied to be a mentor for this one. Mostly self-taught. I've been focusing on like React and front end stuff since like hooks came out in like end of 2018. Done some like contract independent work and like a lot of personal projects. And then I work at a Boys and Girls Club. I'm like the technology director, so I do a lot of like well, right now we do a lot of like esports stuff, but we also do like coding. This summer we ran 2 summer camps that I planned out and ran that were coding based. One of them was like a machine learning camp, and then the other one we like built this esports website. Um, and so some experience coding and teaching and that kind of thing, and looking for like a job where the main thing is tech, but also in that job market, but yeah, pretty comfortable with like answering any questions about being a former collabie, working on this project, anything React. I love learning about like the new stuff that's coming out all of the time. The new frameworks are like usually pretty fun to pick up because they try to improve. So that's something that I like dabbling in. And then fun fact is I also have a puppy. She's not in here right now, but she might make some appearances in the future. She's like 13 weeks old, so
Yeah, that can be rough. I know, it was a bad joke. Okay. So thank you, everybody. That's awesome. I'm glad you're all here. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. I think this is gonna be an amazing group. One last thing before I hand it over to Grace is if you haven't already, I see that a few of us did add our names to the contributors page. Go through the README that's in the repo. Make sure that you can check out the repo via Git and get that set up in your editor of choice. I'm guessing probably VS Code, but there's all kinds of different ways to go about that. And just make sure that if you didn't go through that route to get your name to the contributors file, that you're able to at least pull down and access the code from GitHub and go through just the README and make sure A, you've read it, and B, that you can access it so that we don't run into any issues. And if we do run into issues, we'll get somebody to fix them for you and make sure everybody's got the appropriate access. With that being said, we don't know what Git is. Let's let Grace tell us all about it.
All right, let's go. All right, let me share my screen. I can figure out which tab to share. Get this one. All right, cool. So we are going to use Git at Collab Lab. You are going to use that pretty much all of your professional career. I can't see my Zoom window, so just bear with me. Hopefully you guys can see and or hear me. But we're gonna go forward. Maybe.
Yep, we can hear you. You're good.
Okay, cool. So this is what we're going to cover. There is a lot to learn with Git, but it's very simple. We are going to check out branches. We're going to add changes and stage them. We're going to save the changes in our history. We're also going to send changes to GitHub. There's other platforms that you can use. You can use GitLab outside of Collab Lab. But for Collab Lab in our cohort, we're going to use GitHub. You can also pull the latest changes and get your changes onto the main branch using pull requests. In terms, so a repository or a repo is basically a library of all the files that we're going to edit and modify. So that's pretty straightforward. If hopefully everyone has seen the GitHub repo that we have for TCL 62. So that is basically our repo. The remote is the origin repo. Basically, that's what's on GitHub. The branch, we're going to go through branches. We're going to be working using feature branches. But the main branch is what is on GitHub right now. We'll walk through how to create a feature branch later on, but you will be working through feature branches throughout the cohort. A commit is basically any changes that you want to stage and add to the repo. And a pull request, this is what we're going to use to create those feature branches. Basically, this is what this is a good graphic of how to explain what Git branches and Git pull requests are for. You'll see the blue are just extra changes, and let's see what's next slide. As you can see, it's not linear in the first part of the graphic. But we'll be able to edit that and merge them into one linear history. And then this is what we're going to use to actually do that. You'll want to check out, for example, right now you can create a branch and right here, check out B, new feature. We're going to be using that kind of format to create our feature branches. And if you're, for example, reviewing someone else's branch, you can check out whatever branch name they have. To add a file, you can do git add. I also I don't use git add -a, I use git add period. It's the same thing. It basically stages all your files without you having to specify which file you want to add. There's also git commit. You usually will want to just use git commit -m and include your inline message. It's a lot easier. It's just, for me, simplicity is the best way to do things. I've never used git-am, but I'm assuming it does git add and git commit at the same time. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong. I've never used it personally, so I'm not sure how that works. I'm assuming that's how it works. We can find out. And then you can push your branch to your origin. You'll need to, if you ever create a new branch and you're trying to push it up to the repo, Git will actually tell you in the command line if you get it wrong. So I usually just always do git push and then just copy and paste whatever line it tells me to use to actually push to that branch. And then to get your latest changes, like for example, if we finish our sprint and if you are trying to check out the latest updates, you can use git checkout main and then git pull. So that is the best way, like the slide says, best way to pull the latest updates for creating a new branch. Pull requests, this is where we're going to actually create our changes. We won't all be working on the main branch. We'll be merging to the main branch, but we won't be working directly on that, unlike where we were working on the main branch using the contributor file and editing those changes, pushing them up to main. We'll be using pull requests to do that separately. Merge conflicts, if you have merge conflicts, like I believe we can avoid merge conflicts by having one person create the branch. But if say your partner wants to copy those changes or try to test them out, or maybe there's a different like a different way that your partner has figured out how to do something, you might have merge conflicts, but that's okay. We can always walk you through it. There is a link here to get you through it. But if you ever have any questions, I have merge conflicts at work all the time, so I should be able to answer them. Or if not, we can figure it out together. And then resources, I will include the slideshow in our Slack. So if you want to use it for future reference, we'll be able to give that to you later on. And if you guys have any questions, I'm open to them. Let me stop sharing because I can't see the Zoom window.
I was just saying, yeah, if we can do as many merge conflicts as we can, and then we can work through them, that, is always fun and, good practice. But in reality, nobody wants to do that. And hopefully we'll stay out in front of them. But
Yeah, most of the time if you have them, it's going to be when you're merging it back into main, like at the end. Like if you and the other group that you're not working with are working on the same files. I think there's like one time where it's like kind of built in.
and we showed a bunch of examples in the command line just now. I openly admit to doing almost all of my getting via UI. My tool of choice is JetBrains' tools or IntelliJ or WebStorm. But VS Code's got just as good as stuff going on. And I think in particular with merge conflicts, using a visual editor can be a bit easier than the command line tool for some of that stuff. It's a personal preference thing.
On top of that, if you guys need recommendations for a really cool, pretty command editor, I use Tabby, and I can send the link on that. I just like it because you can supercharge it and just make it look beautiful, and that makes me feel better when I'm working and looking at boring code.
Sweet. So a little bit, I should back up and touch on structure of the meetings. Before I do that, did anybody else have any other additional questions about Git stuff before I kick us along to the next thing?
I don't have necessarily a specific question about Git as much as a question for the group. Just sort of wondering like what everyone's experience going into this with Git and like doing merges and checking out different branches is. I'm not sure if we have time for that, but I'm just just wondering.
It's a great question, actually.
So from my professional experience, just in my work scenarios, you really only mainly need those three commands: git add, git commit, and git push. It'll happen. It's going to happen. Don't be scared of it. Google is your friend. And your coworkers are always going to be a great resource for you. Chances are you will have like a senior engineer on your team. If you have more complicated issues, there have been so many times where I've had to rebase, and luckily for us, we don't really do rebasing at Collab Lab. Where I'm like, oh my God, I did the wrong thing. How do I undo it? And like, there's always a way to undo your changes, as long as you don't, as long as you don't push it to the main repo. But there's always a way to undo your errors, and there's always a way to learn from that. So don't worry. Like, I know it seems kind of intimidating, especially with the command line, but don't panic. We're here to help. That's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Does everybody else feel good about Git? Do you don't know it at all and are super scared by it? What do you think? Thumbs up. Everybody. All right. Well, that's good then. Great. We'll no UIs, all command line, advanced commands for all of you going forward. Will be good. Okay. So as I was about to allude to, the general structure of the meetings, we touched on this in the orientation meeting the other day, is, we'll kind of get on, we'll do a little warm-up chit chat, and then we'll do our first section of the meeting, which apart from today will be demos every week. So you're going to show off what you did, and kind of talk the team through it. The pairs should have kind of talked about the work that you did and how you would like to show it off. Ideally prepare as much as you can, keeping within the time constraints for the week, which we don't really want you to be spending more than 5 hours a week on Collab Lab. And then we'll kind of talk through any issues that you encountered during the week or any lessons or anything that went really well. Then depending on the week, we will alternate between doing a learning module or between doing a retro. And retrospectives, an important part of specific agile ceremony, kind of calls them out, but it's not necessarily an agile thing. It's one of the things that I think is a good practice for any team to be doing, where we'll kind of talk about the things that were going well, what's not going well, and kudos and shout outs we want to give to the rest of the team to sort of help with that continuous improvement mindset. And then once we're done with that, we will roll into talking about what we're gonna do for the next week, the pairing that we've got, and the issue assignments that are coming up, and walking through all that stuff. And I believe that is Jeremiah coming up next.
Yes, that's me. Okay. So I'm going to share this. Okay. And then can everyone see the issues? Or sorry. So this is our project brief. So it's just one of the markdown files in our project that has pretty much everything that you need to know about the like what we're going to be doing. And you've probably already looked at it, but if you haven't, it has like the page that our site is going to be hosted on, the repo, which is what we're in right now, the issue list, which is what we're going to look at next, and then the database, which is where all of our like data for our smart shopping list project is located. And then it also has the week breakdown of who your partner is going to be. So every week we pair a program with the person that's listed with you on the issue that you're assigned. And yeah, this part of our meeting is like when we're dishing those out, so you know like what your goal is for the week. So on the issues, we have 13 of them. The first bit is going to be, we'll take 2 at a time for each partner set. And then at the end, we'll work on this one together, and that's a 2-week long task. So this week, our 2 issues are, we are going to like actually implement the list so you can see the names of all of the items that are stored in the database. So we want to be able to see what our like what the user whose list is active, like what they have on it, so they know what they need to buy. So inside the project itself, there's a list component, and we are going to be working in there and adding the adding the rendering of each of the individual list items to it. So it's on the list page. Inside the project, there are 3 pages, but whoever takes this issue is going to be working in the list page. And you're going to have to navigate there manually right now because the navigation links are broken. So whenever you go to the project page, you'll just add, /list to the end. And the task, the issue for this week is partially completed. So the AC, or the acceptance criteria, is just like the set of things that you need to have done for the issue to be considered complete. So the streamlist items in app.jsx, getting the data from the database is already done, and then it is passing the data to the list component as a prop named data. But inside list.jsx, the list item component isn't rendering each item. So whoever takes this issue, that's what they're going to be working on. And then like Stacy was saying in the orientation the other day, we only want to work on what's in the acceptance criteria. It might not look like a lot of things that need to get done, and this one, the other one are in future issues, but you want to make sure that you're not doing extra, so you're not working ahead, and so that way you're not potentially stepping on the other group's toes and doing something that they are working on. Because right now you're just showing the name. There is other data available for each item, but right now we don't want to do more than that. We just want to make sure that we're showing the name. Other things will come later. And then if you want to look at what is going to be shown in the future, you can open up the wireframe that's on that page. And this is, a rough sketch of what, what's to come in the future. And then, like we said here, the data is already being passed to the list component. So you just have to render it. You have to take the information from that and then show it to the whoever's on the web page. And then for the second issue, this group is going to be implementing the navigation between the pages. So that way, when you click on the links, you can get to the other pages on the app. There is a navigation bar in layout.jsx, but it doesn't do anything right now. Like clicking on the links doesn't take you anywhere. So the acceptance criteria for this issue is also partially complete. So the nav elements added in the layout component and the links for home, list, and add item are there, but the links don't function as expected. So we want to use the nav link component from React Router DOM to create that that feature or that functionality. So the official docs for navlink will come in handy. React Router DOM is the routing library that we're using. So this is what the documentation looks like. And then you could use just an anchor tag, an A tag, to let users navigate from one page to the other, but the nav link, since we're using React Router DOM, is going to add other things to our app, other functionality that you're not going to get just from an anchor tag, kind of like the props that you see in the docs. And Lyle, Grace, do you have any other like advice or any kind of information you might want to share?
It's just worth reiterating again that you get in there and you're going to find that what you actually have to do is extremely simple. It's kind of the point of this week, is not really to do a whole lot of actual dev work here, but to go through the process, setting up a meeting with your partner for the week. So, if you want to get on a call, if you want to use this Zoom link, you're more than welcome to, and let me know. Otherwise, Google Meet or whatever tool works for you is a good way to go about, kind of doing pairing for the week. You want to make sure that your Git works. You want to make sure that the Firebase hookup works. You want to make sure that you're familiar with the project and able to see what's going on. So this is less about like doing a lot as it is making sure that all of the setup is there and we're ready to roll, and then the subsequent weeks coming along. So when you get in there and you're like, what, this is all we have to do? Yeah, that's all you have to do. But that's kind of the point.
The only other thing I wanted to add, like Lyle and Jeremiah were saying, the acceptance criteria is only a few bullet points, but that also gives you an idea of getting comfortable with what's called a minimum viable product. You may have already heard of this in your previous boot camps. But MVPs are really important because you don't want to do too much as you're working sprint by sprint.
And then for week 1, we have Jennifer and Magdalena, and then Hans and Archa. Does either group have a preference on which issue they are assigned? Otherwise, we'll do it randomly.
I'd like to do the React router one if Hans, you're open to that.
I want to fight on the other side. Want to
Yeah, anybody.
Or everybody good with that?
No, that sounds good. Yes.
And then we have Hans.
The one thing I don't think we discussed when the mentors were talking earlier was there's the PairBot tool that we have. It's a pretty simple thing. You just have to set it up correctly. But then you type in the people and it sets up an automatic thread for you in Slack to do your pairs communication with each other. So it's just kind of a nice little automated thing you can have, but at the same time, it's not strictly necessary since you can just start a thread with the person that you're paired with. So I think last time I also kind of asked, do you think that there's value in having an automated set up a thread for you functionality that we can get going? Or do you think you're okay just starting your own threads and talking through it that way?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I was like distracted by the screen sharing happening, and then I realized it's not the same thing that you were saying.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's just we have a little bit of automation. So at the end of every weekly meeting, we can say type in the PairBot thing, and it'll in the two people's names, and it will start you off with a link to your issue and a thread for you to communicate with your partner under to talk about asynchronously for your thing, which again is just like nice little setup for you as like giving you a place to talk, but also something that you can easily accomplish yourselves at the same time. So if you think it's valuable, we'll set it up. If no one cares, then maybe it's not worth the time to set up.
I guess an
I think that
alternative
sounds
would just
handy.
be, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say that sounds handy because it sounds like it'd be really organized versus there could be inconsistent threading happening if we just do it ourselves.
Sure.
But
Okay.
sorry, Jenny also had to.
Yeah, no. I was just wondering. So, okay. So this would be kind of like our communication would be tracked in GitHub, right? So that would be helpful versus like,
Yeah. So actually we should talk about that a little bit too, because we didn't really touch on that yet.
Oh wait, sorry, is this thing in Slack or
So the
that
thing
you were
I was
mentioning
just
was
talking
Slack,
about
right?
in Slack was in Slack. Yes. So we just mentioned GitHub as well, and then realized that we needed to probably touch on that too. So during the week, it probably makes the most sense to keep your talking about stuff in Slack. And I would say err on the side of putting your communication with your partner in the team channel as opposed to in like a private DM. That makes it easier for if you run into a problem or some such for people popping in to help you to see context on what you've already been talking about and what you've already been working through. And it's just a good practice anyway, you know, the more side conversations you have, the more information, you know, kind of gets lost in that kind of thing. So as you're just kind of chit-chatting and talking through and setting things up, Slack is probably the right way to do it when you're doing things asynchronously. Obviously, if you're going to meet like on a video call, then, you know, chat in whatever forum that is, and, you know, it's fine. You don't necessarily need to record everything that you do. But if you are doing something that could be visible, err on the side of the visible thing. When you get ready to submit your code, so what you're going to do, you're going to do a Git branch off of the main branch for your issue for the week. And there's the naming conventions that are in the project brief or the README. Can't remember which one, but they're in there. And, you know, name it as such. And then you'll work on there. You'll make your change. You're going to commit it. And then every week, what we'll do, I think we said all mentors we're gonna have do the sign off for the pull requests. So what we want you to do first is make a draft pull request as early as is feasible. This is pretty much whenever you have some change to work with in your code that you've already committed. And when you do that, that gives us a place to have conversations about the code and to review the code itself. So I think pull requests are a good place to have the conversations that are specifically relevant to the changes that you're getting ready to make. Leave it in draft status until you think it's good and ready to submit it for official review, and that you think it's good to merge. At that point, we'll want to have all the mentors assigned. I'm sorry, I skipped a step. Let me back up. Create your pull request, take it out of draft into full pull request, and assign the other pair to review your pull request. So they're going to come in and they're going to look at the code you did, and they're going to sign off and approve it. Once that happens, then we're going to assign the mentors. We'll come in, we'll do the review, we'll all approve the code. Once we've got all the approvals, then we click merge, it goes into the main line, and we have our little merge party. Did that make sense? Do we want me to walk through those steps again? And other mentors, please check me if that also made sense to you as I walked through that.
Yeah, just to clarify, so we initially want to create a draft pull request, and so then at what point would we create an actual pull request?
So when you think it's good to go, so a draft pull request is a good place to put up code and talk it through and have it there. You'll get to spots where you're like, I think this works, but I'm not sure about it yet. But when you think, yep, I like this. This looks good. We're ready to merge it. Let's make sure everybody else agrees. That's when I would convert it to a real pull request, non-draft pull request, and get it ready to go and start chasing approvals. I wouldn't start chasing approvals from people before you get out of draft, is where that is.
Yeah.
So just to kind of understand the workflow, the draft is basically for the pair that week, and then once the pair is satisfied, we move it to actual pull request, and then it gets reviewed by the other collabs. That's the process.
Yep.
Okay.
Jeremiah's helpfully typing this out for us too. Yeah. And again, so that means, and the reason why I was branching off of the conversation that we were just having. So Slack is a good place to have asynchronous conversation about your sort of mechanics for the week, what you want to do, talking through, working it out. And it's a good place to at people and reach out when you're running into problems for the week. I would default to jumping into Slack for when you want attention and you want people to pop in and help you with something and talk about it. When it comes to the actual code, I'd say putting commentary in the pull request, even the draft pull request, as you go through, is a good place to do that. And you probably won't have as much pull request commentary early, but in the later weeks, there'll be a lot more questions. Does this look right? That kind of stuff. As you're working through the code, and the pull request is a good place to have that, because then you can request changes on specific lines and everybody can see what you're talking about. Whereas if you do that in Slack, it's kind of like, oh, I can see you're asking a question about code, but I can't see the code that you're talking about. Does that make sense?
I have a question then as well, kind of regarding that. Yeah, say for instance, we're doing a bad job at following this kind of like communication and workflow. Are y'all as mentors gonna kind of be like, hey, just we prefer that you guys work it this way instead of the way you're doing it, just kind of like so that if we're doing it in a way that's not like conductive or conducive to productivity or the way that you want us doing things, we can all get on the same page eventually. Or
we're just gonna kick you off the team.
Okay, cool. That's kind of what I hoped, or what I thought. So
no, that's pretty much it. Yeah, like we'll steer you in the right place to be doing stuff if you're doing stuff. I mean, it's also a little bit of there's gray areas, as you'll find with that specific direction. So but yeah, if this is a more appropriate in the pull request, or this is let's take this out of here and put it into Slack. Like if you're talking about your puppies, in the pull request. It's probably the wrong place to talk about it. Kind of stuff. We'll keep you in mind. It's fine. Did I answer the question?
Also, I just want to point out there will be office hours for every week that we need to schedule. So I'll send out a doodle for this week because I'll be hosting office hours this week. But just expect that at least one of the mentors will have at least an hour to just like talk about whatever issues you guys are coming up against before you actually need to submit your pull request.
So I'll be in this room. I don't expect the link to the Zoom room to change. So you feel free to use this if we need it. I can't remember if Zoom complains about you trying to join a meeting when I'm not there, because this is my account that the link is tied to. So if you want to use the room, just let me know and I'll make sure that that's working. But otherwise, yeah.
And just for the record, we don't record office hours, correct?
No. At least I haven't ever done it in the past. Okay, what else did we forget? We cover everything?
I think that's everything.
Sweet.
It's everything. The only other thing that I would say just as advice is like Stacy said in the like orientation, if you can try to like front load your week so that way if there are any hiccups that you run into as the week's going on, you have time to like address that, and then you're also for the issues giving the other team like enough time to review your pull request before they have to share it with us, the mentors. Just because those like 3 things need to happen like each week, and that makes it easier.
I agree. Cool. All right, how's everybody feeling? Good about it? Excited? It's gonna be a lot of fun. All right. Well, we are almost on time. Did we want to try and talk through what was that? Jenny, did you have an issue with the Git thing?
I do. Yeah, if you'll have time.
Sure.
So yeah, so when I was I essentially had an issue with displaying the app in the dev environment. I my node's up to date, NPN's up to date. I'm not sure if I needed to, so as I followed the instructions in the README, but I was getting a blank page when I went to localhost. I'm not sure if there was any, like if I needed to hook up like Firebase or anything.
You shouldn't have. Do you have it convenient right now that you could share your screen and we could see what you saw?
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Jenny, you might have done this already. I had forgotten to, but did you run npm start before you tried?
I did. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
It's a black screen. It's a blank black screen. Localhost 3001.
Just right click first.
Yeah.
Inspect and let's look at the console and see if it said anything helpful. My guess is no.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even check the console. I checked the
Firebase
elements. Okay.
Firestore does not provide an export named Get Firestore. It's interesting. Why is it asking for a specific version of Firebase from Vite? That's fun. Can we look at your npm, your package.json real quick?
Yes.
Let's look at the dependencies. So I have Firebase at 10.10.
Yeah, you'll need to pull from main again, Jenny.
Okay.
Did somebody update this during the week? Jeremiah, do you know?
I think this is what we talked about before, where there was like the version differences. When Jenny added herself as a contributor, but I don't know like where that came from. I don't remember it being like when I was setting them up, I didn't change the Firebase version. They were already at the right version when I started that process.
Okay. So I'll just go ahead and do a git pull. Okay. Yep, Firebase version updated. Okay, npm start. Darn, samesies.
Yeah, and you're on a different port. I don't know if
Yeah.
it matters, but do you have probably at least two processes? This might be
Yeah, I can close them. Yeah. Whoops.
They should be independent, but should is a dangerous word, especially in node land.
Yeah. Let's see.
And did you do a reinstall just now?
Of the dependencies?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I should probably do that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
should.
So let's do this. Kill this session. From here, do RM, RF node modules. Or are we in Windows? Yeah, you're on Mac. Okay, yeah.
Node modules.
Yeah, but do it
RM
put it R.
dash, yeah.
Oh,
We're just blowing away the whole node modules directory in case we got funky stuff in there.
okay. Okay, cool. So remove something not in, okay.
Yeah, that's where node puts all of your downloaded dependencies.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's doing npm install again.
Hey, all, I have to drop since it's after 1, but
By
it's
all
nice
means,
meeting you all.
no, appreciate it. We'll see you
right.
in Slack during the week and good luck. Have fun. Do a node dash dash version for me.
$18.70.
Yeah. Why does it want you to be on a higher version than that? That's pretty nuts. Hold on.
18.70, but
I guess I'm on
Do
18.
you have the latest LTS version? Because I have 18.12.
oh, you know what? Oh, maybe I just need to switch. Oh shoot. I forgot how to do that. Let's see.
So are you using Node Version Manager? Or are you just using
NPM?
NPM? Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll basically just have to install the latest node, which let me see if I can find the command for that.
Yeah, I should have it installed. I think maybe I just need to switch to it.
Type nvm l space ls for me.
NVM.
Yeah.
L space. Like that?
ls.
Oh well. Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you are using nvm. That's good. You have 18.12 installed. That's also good. So what you might want to do is type nvm use 18.12. That should be enough. Okay.
Use-
Now try npm install.
Okay.
Okay. Let's delete the node modules again.
Okay.
The RMRF.
Yeah, and then after you delete it, actually just run I think it's npm CI, and that should install everything for you.
Okay. So you can kind of use NPM and NVM interchangeably. Oof.
NVM
No,
is the node version manager. So it is actually a tool that will change the installed version of the Node.js interpreter that you're running.
Okay. Okay.
okay.
Root on files. Ugh. So it gives you the command here that you actually need to run to fix this, which is yeah, try that.
I actually have to run now as well.
Yep.
But it's
Yeah.
really nice meeting all y'all, and I'm looking forward to this.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Okay, everybody take care, and we'll be in touch.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I actually have to run pretty soon too. I can continue like troubleshooting this on my own. I might need to ping y'all again.
Yeah,
But
feel free to drop a link in the chat, and we'll be happy to figure it out. I have some time today, so if anything, I can just spin up a meeting or something.
awesome. Okay, that sounds
Is
good.
this a work computer that you don't want to mess with installed things on, or is this?
No, it's personal, so it's well, yeah, I can change things.
So no, if we won't. Messing with multiple versions of Node is potential to break something if you had a good reason to be on an old version of Node. So I bring that up. Like we want to be careful about telling you to set things globally that shouldn't be. But
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess should be fine. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Maybe Grace, I'll ping you later on today to see if you have some availability. If I'm still stuck.
Yeah, perfect. I'll be free all day, so I literally have nothing to do.
Awesome. Thank you.
might be around, but my internet might not be. So,
New
Depends on if it
problem.
rains. Yeah.
all right, I'll see y'all later.
Well, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice
Bye.
first meeting. See you all.
Yeah.